more, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. I am stoked about our guest today. So, hey, folks, welcome to Defender Fridays, right? This is our weekly get together, our powwow with folks all across information security. I'm Eric Capuano, part of the dedicated Lima Charlie team, and it's my pleasure to guide you through this unique series of insightful fireside chats. Right, as you already know, Defender Fridays is all about bringing together defensive-minded folks and seasoned professionals from across the industry so that we can continue to spread knowledge, raise the collective bar, and sort of share our experiences. Because at the end of the day, right, we're only as strong as the weakest link, and that's an industry-wide truth, right? Doesn't really matter if the banking sector is crushing it in infosec, but elsewhere is plummeting, right? Like we all kind of rise and fall together. So I'm really excited about this week's guest because not only is he a seasoned practitioner, he's also a SANS DFIR instructor, but above and beyond all of that, he's a really great personal friend of mine. Marcus Guevara and I go way, way, way back, well over a decade now. We both served together in the Texas Air National Guard, where we were working on cyber ranges and developing cyber defense tactics for the Air Force. And then he went off and joined the Coast Guard, built one of the first functional security operations teams for the Coast Guard out of the DC area, and then moved on and supported what was CISA at the time, running their HURT team, right? You guys call it Hunt Incident Response, right? I believe. Hunt and Incident Response team. So he was doing, IRs and threat hunts across critical infrastructure like, nuclear power plants and things like that. So he has a very vast experience. He's just an all-around incredible guy, and he's here to talk about a really interesting topic, but I'll save that part for him, Marcus. Hey, welcome to the Defender Fridays. Glad to have you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. So I always feel like whenever I'm in the presence of you and other people that I'm unqualified, and I sometimes it still baffles me that because Eric and I go so far back that we both probably remember a time when each other didn't know basic Linux commands and stuff, right? Like we were doing initial training together, and to see how far Eric has grown and sprouted into one of the better sort of just minds in security out there is awesome. So anytime that I get to spend time around Eric, I always feel like I'm learning something. And so the fact that I'm a guest here just makes me feel it's a humbling thing. So I appreciate you guys inviting me on. So what did you said that you wanted to talk about donkeys or donkey facts or Highland cows?
No, yeah. I mean, status quo is you generally find a way to weave those into your section. Right. So yeah, do your thing, man. Let's hear about it. So I think memory forensics was on your mind, right?
Yeah. No, yeah. I know it wasn't donkeys. Okay, I knew it. But yeah, so it's an interesting topic because I teach forensics 508%, and every time we get to the memory forensics section, I always feel like this is where it's kind of two things happen, and it's kind of cool. One is we lose everybody because nobody ever has any experience in memory forensics as an analyst in incident response and things like that. And then the other thing that happens is that they're blown away by just the coolness of it, right? Like very simple, very easy things are just so cool because they never get to do it. And I wondered to myself, why is it the case that these people are coming through a very advanced class? I mean, we're talking persistence and lateral movement. We're like in depth on event logs and artifacts like prefetch and shim cache and all of these things, and the little tidbits of each one of these things, the nuances that make for somebody who really knows what they're doing in the space. And then and for the most part, people they've had experience with it, they know about it or something, they have tools that help them with it. And then we get to memory forensics, and then they're just like, I don't ever do it. I don't touch the stuff. I don't know anything about memory. And I used to wonder, why is that? I think the reason for it is that most security analysts and incident responders their mind is on the live systems, right? Like we've gone away from the idea that we're doing kind of dead forensics on disk type of stuff, because we had to a long time ago. That made sense. And hilariously, when I was in the military and then in DHS, we did a lot of taking forensic disk images of systems, which was clunky. It took forever. And then sometimes it produced really nothing, right? There's no value, even though we thought that that was a system that was probably involved or whatever. And, very quickly, the sort of the space recognized, like, this doesn't make sense. We shouldn't be doing things like this. And, we got to the point where we were doing rapid triage, grabbing artifacts, only the things that you needed. And again, it makes sense because you're really mirroring what happens in the real world with detectives. When they go to a crime scene, they're not packing up the entire house to take with them, right? Like, they're taking a t-shirt or a cutout of the wall. They're taking pictures, blood samples, very simple and easy things that they can quickly send off. I mean, I say quickly send off, the labs will take forever and whatnot, but it's a lot faster than trying to stay there in the area for weeks while you're doing the investigation, or bring the whole room or something like that, like things that are just not feasible. So we figured that out when it came to disk type of artifacts. But for whatever reason, memory didn't follow. And again, I've always thought that maybe that's because there's this really big disconnect between people who do security analysis and incident response on artifacts that live in disk, and then ones that are in memory, because it's an entirely different sort of subject, right? Like, you and I, for example, dude, like, you crush me whenever it comes to network stuff, because I never did any networking. I wasn't an admin. I didn't go to the Air Force. The Air Force didn't send me through freaking 8 months of networking, classes and stuff. And so, like, when it comes to networking stuff, like, I get kind of dumb. But I was a programmer, you know what I mean? So when it comes to memory management and assembly and stuff like that, I took classes on that. I had to, like, do things to make sure that I was managing memory properly, because I worked in C and Perl and some of the old stuff. So therefore, memory analysis just was a little bit easier for me, and it made a lot more sense, because, again, it's sort of a different space of where people play. And I think this is the idea. Like, I gave a talk at CactusCon earlier this year, is that, like, why are these worlds not merging, right? Like, why is it that people are stuck in this? As soon as they get to the memory part, they're like passing it on to, like, the reverse engineers. They're giving it to somebody else because they're like, I don't know how to do that. I don't do that stuff. And it's because the tools and the methods are split, right? It's like, we use these tools for this stuff, and then we use those tools for that stuff, and those are different people. The reality is that it doesn't have to be like that, right? Because memory analysis has always been sort of traditionally on dead memory. So this is when something's already happened. I'm trying to figure out what happened exactly. And so I'm now taking memory snapshots, no different than, again, back in the day when we used to do a lot of disk forensics snapshots, right? So now I'm taking a memory snapshot, and I'm trying to go and use volatility, which has always been king. This is another big reason, right? Volatility has been the tool that everybody uses, and volatility only works on dead memory samples. Okay, so all the research and all the tooling and all the stuff is kind of just all involved in dead memory. But what's really funny is that we were talking about some topics for things that we could do, or that I could submit for a talk. And Eric was the one that gave me this idea of looking at that live memory analysis versus dead memory analysis. So I kind of went on a tear, excuse me, I'm not getting emotional. I have sometimes I cough because I have like a burned throat. So Eric has had to deal with, and Whitney and everybody at Recon had to deal with it for 5 years of, like, every time I'm on conference calls and stuff like that, I can't talk for however long without coughing. So just so you guys know, it's going to happen. But so Eric gave me this idea, and I went on this tear of, like, researching and stuff. And I started realizing that all the methods that are used in dead memory forensics can be used in live memory analysis as well. And even more than that, they should, right? Like, they need to make their way into people's minds and processes and tooling. They already have, really. We could talk about that. But it's because when you're doing dead memory forensics, what's the problem with that, Eric? Like, why would I hate to do dead memory forensics as a responder?
Well, I could give you a couple of reasons, and I'll kind of start from, like, the simple one and then get to the one that not that many people know about. The simple one, and you kind of spoke to this, is it's time. It's how long is it going to take me to dump 8, 16, 32, 64, 128 gigs of RAM on a system? Where do I put that memory dump? Am I going to sneaker net it around on a USB? What am I doing? But here's the lesser known and I know you know this, but like some of the folks, a lot of folks don't understand. There's another big issue with traditional memory acquisition that can cause issues in your investigation, and we call it evidence smear, right? And it's this idea that you try to dump memory, which is a very volatile thing. It's always changing. Okay. Well, when you dump it, it doesn't like dump all 64 gigs all at one time, right? It's like reading it, it's scanning through, it's reading memory and dumping it to disk as it reads it. But what about the things that are changing as the reading's happening, right, Marcus? Like that's a problem, isn't it?
Right. Well, yeah. So there's a lot of things. It's one, you got memory compression that's going on, right? So if you catch it during an area when a certain part of memory is compressed, well, then the tools might miss whatever you're looking for. But you're right. Like you're using memory, you're utilizing memory to try and capture memory, which is why anytime you take a memory snapshot, one of the things that comes up in your process is like win pmem or dump it or whatever, right? Because it's the tool that's actually being used inside of memory to somehow capture itself in like an inception thing. So you have evidence smear, and that's a more complex or difficult topic. But there's an even more simple reason that it's like when you're doing dead memory forensics, you've already lost, right? Like this is where, dude, the damage is already done. I don't want to be doing autopsies, right? Like I want to catch things with enough time to do something about it. So if I'm doing dead memory forensics, then literally it's in the word, right? Like I'm already dead. I've already been hit. And as a SOC, that's not good. I mean, as an incident responder, there might be times where I have to do that. But in the SOC, you take all the methods and the lessons that you learn in doing dead memory forensics, and then just literally move that over into doing that across lots of live systems, and figure out how to start figuring out when things are wrong before it dies, essentially, right? So I want to pause in case there's any questions or something from the group. Otherwise, we can talk about some kind of nifty things that you can do in live memory analysis.
I do have a quick comment because I think you said
Yeah.
something briefly that I think is profound, and it's something that I really want to drive home for folks. And this might ruffle some feathers because I'm also a SANS DFIR instructor, and so like obviously DFIR is something that has been around for a long time. It's still a very necessary kind of area of focus in our field. But if I can say something a bit controversial, and Marcus, I'm curious if you share this sentiment. The only reason DFIR is a thing is because of the absence of more real-time detection and response capability, right? Like when you come in, like, and I love Marcus's term for this, autopsy, right? DFIR is doing an autopsy on a dead body, but we don't want dead bodies, right? In SOC world, wouldn't it be great if like you never had a major incident because you were able to detect and stop them before they became major incidents, right? DFIR means those things have failed. There has been a major explosion, and now we're picking up the pieces and trying to understand what happened. But the explosion's already happened, right? And so like it's really important to emphasize. I think what Marcus is talking about here is shifting away from being experts at doing autopsies and being better at preventing the death. Am I right, Marcus?
Ultimately, that's exactly what it is, right? Like again, take it back to the analogy of a detective coming onto a crime scene where somebody's been killed, for example, right? Like to be able to do blood samples, to be able to do fingerprints and stuff, like that's a very critical skill to have for when you need it. But you don't want to have to do those. You want to catch the person either in the act or when they're like coming up with the idea and planning it out, so you can stop the actual thing that's right. Like this is literally what I term as success in cybersecurity is how successful are you in reducing risk and preventing impact, not preventing incidents. You're always going to have incidents. I just don't want them to like a lot of people don't notice I forgot to kind of mention, like I have 6 kids, right? Dude, I know that things are going to happen. I just know, like there's no normal non-chaotic life with 6 kids, right? Like there's boogers like on the wall all over the place. I can't stop that. You know what I mean? Like people tearing up a chair or dropping, spilling things or whatever. But what I definitely need to stop is them running into the street and getting hit by a car, right? Like, so what I got to do is have the ability to jump in front of when I notice that there's a thing that's starting to occur, that I know the end point is disastrous, and I need to get in the middle of that, right? And that's, I think, where success comes. So yeah, like I don't want to be. I want to have the skills to do an autopsy. I don't want to be there though. I'm trying to push myself away from it.
Yeah, I think we got one question from
Yeah.
an attendee. Venkata, am I saying that right? You're free to unmute if you want to ask your question. I'm not sure if we
Good question. No, I'm kidding. I'm just messing with you, Eric. No, I
well
didn't hear
maybe
anything.
well all right, maybe fire your question into chat and we'll come back to you.
Okay, so I saw Michael said, I feel like differs kind of split between malware and criminal investigations. Hard to detect malicious human activity that would require forensics. Um, yeah, I mean, I've actually always said that the difference between IT and security is that there is a human element in there, which you have to account for, and I think that that's so like your mindset always has to be sort of criminal investigations, I think, and to be good at differ. Somebody else has 6 kids is man, that's not something I encounter very often. So awesome. Congratulations. And then Nick said that's a lot of kids. That's correct. You are correct.
So Marcus, can you give us some practical examples here? Like what are some things that we can take from traditional dead memory forensics and weaponize into more active style kind of detection?
Yeah, two things come to mind immediately. One of them would be sort of just process interrogation, and a lot of people do this anyway. I just think that it's the techniques, specifically in dead memory forensics, of interrogating processes and looking at like what DLLs are loaded into particular processes, what handles it might have, things like that, right? So process interrogation is something that's super easy to do, and in fact, it's actually built into most tools nowadays. Again, the question is, do you have the method to be able to figure out how to maybe find something across many systems? So you know this well, right? Frequency or stacking analysis, where instead of looking at a single system that's dead and trying to interrogate processes on just the one system, can I do that across many systems? I can, and one way to do that would be, let's say, just a little bit different, but still doing the same thing effectively, is looking for frequency. If I have, let's say, Microsoft Edge running on 5,000 endpoints, and I have 5,000 endpoints, that's normal and it's expected, and so I'm not going to go and try to sift through all 5,000 to see if one of those happens to be malicious. But what might kind of get my spidey sense going is some particular process that's running on only one system in the environment, especially on a sensitive system or even a user workstation, and even more so looking at where it's running from. Those kinds of things are, again, it's something that anybody can do with, Velociraptor does it as a free tool, but virtually every EDR tool has the same capabilities as well, right? So process interrogation is one. Then the other thing would be looking for, here's where I think, again, like teaching the 508 class, where eyes generally like pop out and people are like surprised at how easy it is in dead memory forensics to catch process injection, right? Because like that's one of the most clever and sort of stealthy techniques that an attacker uses that traditionally analysts feel very, very ill-equipped to be able to handle. Like, how do I know that that's happening? Because when you're looking at like tons of alerts, you're going to see that happen all the time, right? Like it's normal actually to see process injection. So you got like 50,000 alerts in the last 2 days for process injection. Well, what am I supposed to do with that, right? But anyway, in dead memory forensics, one of the things that you figure out really quickly is how easy it is to look for malicious process injection, where like you have a blank mapped path, because traditional process injection is let's say traditional DLL loading is supposed to occur from disk, right? Like you're supposed to have a DLL file that's loaded from disk. Well, what attackers have figured out is, well, I can, instead of using the API, the traditional loader, I can use a reflective loader that just loads code from memory. And then when you do analysis in dead memory forensics, you can see that effectively it's not loaded from disk, and the path where it's supposed to be recording where it was loaded from is just blank. Dude, right there, it's super easy. The analysts are like, it's that easy, and it's like, yeah, it's that easy, right? But you can do that across live systems. I can look across 5,000 systems and look for the same kind of markers, and it's so easy to do that because people like Jared Atkinson, right, for example, have developed specifically ways or tools rather that you literally you load into another tool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, get injected thread. Is that the one?
Exactly. Yeah. So there's get injected thread. Now there's get injected thread X because so yeah, I had that in the talk where in fact, hold on. I have let me throw this these slides into ignore the cyber donkey bucket stuff. It's just I use it as a temporary staging area to throw this set of slides in there. But ultimately, get injected threads a little bit old. Uh, Not too long after that, some guy named Adam, I think is his name, came up with a neat little blog article that kind of showed how to defeat it. And then very recently, they came out with another update that essentially is able to defeat the defeat. So I don't know if it's called get injected thread extreme. I don't know if that's what it stands for, but it's get injected thread X. So
Yeah, but
yeah,
let's pause for a minute though and talk about it because that not everybody might be familiar with like, well, what's threat injection, right? Well,
right.
it's kind of the idea, right, that a malicious process could inject malicious code into an otherwise benign process, right? So it's not always that you see malware.exe running on a system. There might be malware running inside of SVC host or explorer.exe, and that
Right.
becomes trickier. Right now, some kind of cool things though to know is that while yes, traditional old school memory forensics makes these things easy to find, right, Marcus? Like,
Yeah.
but that's not the limitation. That's we're not limited to that though, right? Like, and a lot of you are probably thinking, well, hang on, my EDR generates telemetry kind of like this, process injection stuff. Yes, that was kind of the crux of EDR was to bring more memory specific detection. But I want to throw out a shout to Sysmon, folks. Like Sysmon, which is completely free, also generates telemetry for this type of activity, and that costs nothing, right? Other than your time to deploy it.
Yep. Yeah. So and you said something else that triggered thought. Oh, I know. This is why. So you talk about like the fact that like Sysmon and your EDR tools will capture a lot of this stuff. One of the things that I think makes this not so easy for people to it's not just the tools, the automated tools can't just automatically catch and get rid of everything, is because this is also a very normal thing and expected in Windows. So like I always talk to people about I'm a person that like I think a lot about the past and things that I used to deal with that I don't have to deal with anymore. I don't know why. It's just sometimes it still feels like it was yesterday. When I had to, if you update an IP address, you have to restart your system. You install an application or a new tool, you have to restart your system. Like you're restarting every time you make any kind of change, and that's because Windows didn't used to have the ability to effectively change code on the fly. Right? It had to shut down and restart with the new code. So what Microsoft did to fix that was allow for code to get injected into running processes without them having to die first. That's a
Yeah,
normal thing. It's an expected thing. It's supposed to be the case. And that's why it's so
DLL.
hard to figure this, to find the bad stuff, right? So
Yeah, I can't let this topic lie without throwing another shout out to another open source tool, folks, that you can use to start to scalably do live memory analysis, and it's Velociraptor all day long, right? And folks, like at the end of the day, the approaches, the techniques are similar regardless of the tool, right? If you put Sysmon, it's watching for those suspicious API calls of processes injecting into the processes. EDR is doing very similar things. But being able to weaponize something like Velociraptor, now we can start to do Yara scans against memory, right? And these are the kinds of things we do with dead memory, is right. Run a Yara scan for specific signatures. But again, I'm doing an autopsy and I'm looking for signs of poison in the victim's body. But what if I can look for the traces of that poison in a living person and then remove it before it does any damage, right? And that's kind of a cool capability, a technique to hone.
I actually, if you're cool with me sharing my screen for a
Yeah,
second, I can
yeah.
kind of show an example of that.
Let me make sure you've got.
Just forgive
Uh,
me here.
Let me make sure you've got permission. Does it let you share now or no?
Mm-mm.
Okay, it will now. Hang on.
Okay, cool. You are the host now. Sweet. That's what
Yes.
I was looking for. Time to take over now. Okay. All right. So here's the slides that I posted a little while ago, which anybody can go and pull up and see. Um, okay. So here's an example. of Velociraptor doing exactly what you're talking about, right? Like all the things that Velociraptor can do. What I love kind of most about this, especially for somebody who's never been exposed to this subject or to Velociraptor, but certainly the subject, is that Velociraptor has a lot of loaded hunts that are already there with a lot of information that can sort of give you a sense of you know, what you can look for and why and those kinds of things, right? Like even links to things that would help you kind of do some further research. So this is so mutants and stuff, which we didn't talk about, but we did talk about DLL injection. So here are some examples that I use Metasploit and then Sliver to perform code injection, reflective code injection, and then find it through Velociraptor. I even put, if anybody wants to do this themselves, I know Eric, you have a fantastic walkthrough. I actually linked, I did this a year ago, so this was before Eric. I would have just pointed to Eric's stuff if I had it back then, but I didn't. So I put some video walkthroughs for anybody who wants to go and check that out for themselves. And then ultimately, this just shows that I successfully got a reflective code injection to take using Sliver. And then I showed how we would do using Malfine and Velociraptor, how I would be able to go and look for, like, you can see the MZ header up on the top right. I wish I had, oh, I do have, look at that, boom, I can annotate like this. That's a big circle. I should have made it smaller. My bad. Anyway, so then ultimately, now I got to figure out how to take that annotation off. Hold on. Oh, it's just that circle's gonna go with it, guys. I apologize. I'm a psychopath. Okay, so then here's get injected thread. So this is a PowerShell script that you can use just on a single system. But the cool thing, and this is where I actually have a tie into Eric's video right here, looking at going through using Velociraptor to literally just get injected thread out there, to throw that PowerShell script out there. Well, eventually what happens is that this gets loaded as a hunt. I think it's in here. Okay, so just this is what I was talking about. Velociraptor, literally, you could climb through here. Man, that circle. Okay, I don't know how to take it off. All right, so Malfine is again a very famous velocity. What am I trying to say here, Eric? I'm messing with the.
I was answering a question in chat. Sorry.
Volatility. Sorry.
Yeah.
The words are just so simple that, or sorry, similar that I couldn't remember. Okay, so volatility. It's a very famous plugin in volatility. That was my check to just see if Eric was actually paying attention to me, and he wasn't. All right. So Malfine is a very popular plugin in volatility. It's also imported into Velociraptor. And then so like this is literally all the same stuff I would do in dead memory forensics. It's just I'm doing it in live memory forensics. And then this is what I was telling you before of Adam Chester, that's the dude's name, how to defeat get injected thread. And then ultimately some follow-up research on how to defeat that, defeat. And then so what I'm saying here is, like, when you're going through Velociraptor, the beauty here is you can learn a lot just by looking at the hunts that are already loaded in there by people like Matt Green, and even Eric, actually. I think you have some hunts that you've written specifically in Velociraptor, haven't you? So there you go. So anyway, it's just a taste to show people that Velociraptor is not only a phenomenal tool for conducting these things, it's also a great place to go and learn, just get ideas about all the sort of things that you can look for out there in regards to Windows memory analysis. So that blue circle is on.
That is outstanding, Marcus. Really, really exciting topic. And folks, definitely check out the links in the chat and check out that slide deck, because obviously he's gone far more into detail. So if you really want to dig in on this idea, go check out his slide deck. He's got a video listed there. You can go and watch him kind of demonstrate this concept. Really, really fascinating stuff, Marcus. And I love that you're talking about it. I don't think enough people are talking about the fact that memory forensics has been left behind, and we have failed to kind of evolve and push it to a more scalable and more agile process than it traditionally has been. So really appreciate hearing from you on that today. All right, well, folks, hey, that brings us to the top of the hour. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up really quick. Just some housekeeping. So we do not have a show for the next 2 weeks. So yes, we're breaking for the holidays. So Hope that everyone has a fantastic holiday. We will be back in the first week of January with Paul Ime that's coming on to talk about some really cutting edge kind of detection engineering concepts. And I'm really excited to hear from Paul. That'll be January 5th. That's going to be our next show, folks. So amazing holiday, everyone. Join the Lima Charlie Slack. You can get there from get there at slack.limacharlie.io. We've got a Defender Fridays channel where we can chat up between sessions, and you can chat with the guests if you still have questions. Otherwise, have a fantastic rest of your Friday, folks, and an awesome holiday season, and we'll see you after the new year. Take care, everyone.
Cool. Thanks, man. See you.